The rain started just after midnight. Ethan Briggs had been driving for nearly 6 hours across a lonely stretch of old Route 66 in western Oklahoma. The highway was empty except for the occasional truck. His phone had no signal, and the nearest town was more than 30 miles away. The weather forecast had promised clear skies. Instead, dark clouds swallowed the moon. Ethan turned up the radio, but all he heard was static. Then he saw the ambulance. It sat on the shoulder of the road ahead, its red emergency lights flashing silently through the rain. No siren. No movement. Just flashing red lights. Ethan slowed down. The ambulance looked old, much older than modern emergency vehicles. Its paint was faded, and rust covered the doors. As he passed, he glanced through the driver's window. No one was inside. "That's weird," he muttered. A mile later, he looked in his rearview mirror. The ambulance was behind him. His stomach tightened. He was sure he had passed it. Now it was following him. Its headlights glowed through the rain. Maybe it had simply pulled onto the highway after all, he thought. But something felt wrong. Very wrong. The ambulance stayed exactly 3 car lengths behind him. Not closer. Not farther. 3 car lengths. For 20 minutes. Every time Ethan changed speed, the ambulance matched it perfectly. When he accelerated to 70 miles per hour, it accelerated. When he slowed to 50, it slowed. Always 3 car lengths away. The radio crackled. Then a voice emerged from the static. "Patient still alive." Ethan nearly jumped out of his seat. The voice sounded distorted and distant. Like someone speaking through a broken speaker. Then another voice answered. Not for long. The radio returned to static. Ethan quickly switched stations. Nothing but static. The rain grew heavier. The ambulance remained behind him. Then its siren suddenly activated. Wee-oo wee-oo wee-oo. The sound echoed across the empty plains. Ethan pulled over immediately. The ambulance stopped behind him. Its headlights illuminated his rear window. Seconds passed. Nobody stepped out. No paramedics. No driver. Nothing. The siren stopped. Silence returned. Ethan waited another minute before stepping outside. Rain soaked his clothes instantly. "Hello?" he shouted. No response. He slowly approached the ambulance. The rear doors were slightly open. A foul smell drifted out. The smell of decay. Ethan covered his nose. Is anybody there? The doors creaked wider. Inside sat a stretcher. A body lay beneath a white sheet. Perfectly still. The wind lifted one corner of the sheet. Ethan froze. The dead man's face looked exactly like him. Same eyes. Same beard. Same scar on the chin. Same everything. The corpse's eyes suddenly opened. Ethan stumbled backward. The rear doors slammed shut. The ambulance lights died. Darkness swallowed the road. When lightning flashed a second later, the ambulance was gone. Completely gone. Ethan ran back to his car and sped away. His heart hammered against his ribs. He drove for another hour before finally reaching a tiny town called Black Creek. The place looked abandoned. Most buildings were dark. Only a single gas station remained open. Ethan rushed inside. The elderly cashier looked up. "You look like you've seen a ghost." Ethan laughed nervously. "Maybe I did." He told the man about the ambulance. As he spoke, the cashier's expression changed. His face became pale. Very pale. "You saw it," he whispered. "Saw what?" "The ambulance." Ethan nodded. The old man glanced toward the rain-covered windows. My grandfather told me about it. What do you mean? The cashier swallowed hard. In 1978, an ambulance crashed on Route 66 during a storm. Okay. The driver, 2 paramedics, and a patient were killed. Ethan felt cold. People say the ambulance still appears during storms. That's just a legend. The cashier shook his head. No. He pointed toward an old newspaper clipping hanging behind the counter. A faded photograph showed a destroyed ambulance in a ditch. The image was black and white. Yet Ethan instantly recognized it. The same rusted vehicle. The same shape. The same ambulance. His blood turned to ice. People who see it usually die within 24 hours. Ethan laughed. It sounded forced. That's ridiculous. The cashier didn't smile. Maybe. Ethan paid for coffee and left. But he couldn't stop thinking about the corpse. His corpse. The eyes opening beneath the sheet. The voice on the radio. Patient still alive. Not for long. By 3 a.m., Ethan checked into a roadside motel. Room 7. The motel owner looked half asleep. He handed Ethan a key. Storm's getting worse. Ethan nodded. The room smelled old. He locked the door and collapsed onto the bed. Eventually exhaustion won. He fell asleep. At exactly 3:33 a.m., he woke up. Someone was knocking. 3 slow knocks. Thump. 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 Ethan sat upright. The room was dark. Another knock. Thump. 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 He approached the door. Who's there? No answer. He looked through the peephole. Nobody. Only rain. He opened the door. The parking lot was empty. Except for an ambulance. The same ambulance. Parked directly outside room 7. Its lights flashed silently. Red. 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 Ethan slammed the door shut. The phone beside the bed began ringing. He answered. Static. Then the same voice. Patient still alive. A second voice replied. Prepare the room. Click. The line went dead. Ethan packed immediately. He wasn't staying another second. He rushed outside. The ambulance was gone. Again. As if it had never existed. Dawn finally arrived. The storm faded. Sunlight returned. Ethan convinced himself everything had been stress and exhaustion. Ghost stories. Hallucinations. Coincidences. Nothing more. He started driving east toward Oklahoma City. At noon he reached a long bridge crossing a deep river canyon. Traffic moved normally. For the first time in hours, he relaxed. Then his radio activated by itself. Static filled the speakers. The familiar voice returned. Patient arriving. Another voice answered. Time of death confirmed. Ethan slammed the radio off. A truck suddenly swerved in front of him. Its tire exploded. The truck jackknifed across the bridge. Cars crashed. Metal screamed. Drivers honked. Ethan jerked the steering wheel. Too hard. His car smashed through the guardrail. For a moment, time seemed to stop. The vehicle hung over empty space. Then gravity took over. The car plunged toward the canyon below. As Ethan fell, he saw flashing red lights beside him. An ambulance. Floating in the air. Keeping pace with the falling car. The rear doors slowly opened. Inside stood 3 shadowy paramedics. Their faces hidden. Waiting. Watching. The stretcher was ready. Waiting for one final patient. The last thing Ethan heard before everything went black was a familiar voice. Patient no longer alive. And somewhere below, deep in the darkness of the canyon, a siren wailed. Forever.